Hi you guys, special message for my friends on YouTube. I'm really happy to see you. I've been away for a while. Doug tells me it's been about 3 months since we've been on video like this from Voice in the Wilderness. And I want to tell you as much as I can of today's message without disappearing off this wonderful platform that we have here. So I'll be selective in what I say and still get the message across. I've been finishing up a long project in the academic world that I started in 2013, and I thought it would take 4 years, and it took 9 years. I'll be done in mid-August, month after next, and that's going to start giving me more time to work on the Lost Arts radio projects. But starting now, we're going to be putting together some work in Planetary Healing Club connected to the situations unfolding in the world that need to be dealt with. And we've got a lot of insanity manifesting, especially this last month or so, and it's ramping up, and we're being encouraged to be violent. The media and the government are encouraging us to just go crazy and destroy property and attack people, and this is what they're really into. And the reason is because if they can get us to act insane, then they have a reason to go after us and take away all of our freedoms and say it's our fault. So this is not a good plan, and they've got us divided. They've been pumping energy into our atmosphere, which is not just gases and CO2 and oxygen and nitrogen and stuff like that, trace gases. It's frequencies. And they're pumping into the atmosphere the frequency of fear, division, hatred, fighting, mostly fear, which leads to all the others. And we have the capability of overriding those because of the incredible healing power that you have because of where you came from and who you're connected to. And they are very concerned that you might discover that before their agenda is finished and life no longer lives on this planet. That's the agenda. That's the bottom line. That's the goal, in my experience. And I'm always open to being proved wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And I've been looking at this for decades. So it's in your hands if you want, like they said in Mission Impossible, if you choose to accept your job here, to unwrap and uncover your natural abilities that were forgotten long ago, not coming from your little ego self, but flowing through you from God. Because this God thing is also called spirit, or the source of life, source of beauty and love. That's actually not just a belief, that's real. And anybody has the potential to experience it, even if they never read a book, they never knew what a scripture is, they never knew what the right religion to join is or anything like that. It's connected inside us. It's real. And there's a focus that can be developed that can allow you to experience it more and more. And that's looking at this overall situation in the world with all the assaults against humanity that are happening now, organized by our rulers. The physical level educational efforts in resistance to that, nonviolent, are all great, or can be great, but they're not sufficient. And to really turn it around, we need to open up who we are. Because experiments have been done, really interesting experiments. You might have heard of them. Dr. Emoto's water experiment, where the focus of certain emotional states onto a supposedly inert glass of water totally changed the crystalline structure in the water, projecting the emotion, not just the thought. The thought doesn't do it, but the focused emotion of I love you and thank you made these beautiful designs in the crystalline patterns when it was flash frozen. That's a clue, okay? You're supposed to say, wait a minute. If that happened, which it did, what about larger scale application? What could it do? Ho'oponopono, we have a lot of people that I know personally that have used it, that have totally changed relationships even when no talking was possible. That's been done. I've seen it. Regardless of what Dr. Hugh Len did, people that we know have applied this and changed the behavior of malicious people. Dr. Cousins, who we've been doing a weekly show with, as you know, excuse me, that bug's trying to attack here. We've been doing a weekly show on Tuesdays at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern, 10 at night, Middle East. And he's pointing to studies where people have been meditating in a group, not in one place, but all together at the same time in certain cities, and their violent crime rate dropped massively right when they were meditating. So there are these clues, but the clues aren't enough anymore. They never were. Now it's, okay, scale up. Dr. Bankston, who's been a multiple-time guest on our show, had mice in a medical lab that had cancer given to them by chemicals, and they were set to only live a certain number of days. He developed a form of focus and consciousness without touching the animals that cured all the cancer. This should have been front page news if we had an honest media, but it was blacked out. But again, small scale. It's great for healing mice who have cancer artificially induced in a little wire cage. That's not our challenge at the moment. I think you've noticed we have a world that's being orchestrated towards suicide globally. Suicide of all life, including the perpetrators, even though some of them don't know it yet. And that needs to be turned around. And who has the ability to do that? You. And so we're working really hard, 7 days a week, 16 hours a day to uncover the details. And we're going to start actively working on it this Saturday. What is it, July? Is it the 5th or something? I'm not sure. Let's see. Friday is the first. Is it? Today's the 28th, 29th, 30th. Yeah, I think Friday's the 1st, which means Saturday's the 2nd. So if I'm right, starting Saturday the 2nd of July, we're going to be starting to get into the details and the actual work, the practice of how to uncover your ability to focus this life energy, not being the source of it, but being the conduit. A big difference there. This applies to everything that you're dealing with in your life. But more than that, it applies to the outside world, which by normal means is too far gone to save at this point. And supernormal means are ready to flow through you if you're up to it. It means having courage and working on yourself, because that's where the hidden PowerPoint really is lying. If you want to do this and join me, I'm looking for people in all parts of the world. I know if you're in Eastern Asia right now, it's going to be inconvenient because the meeting time is 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern U.S. time, and it gets really late even in Europe, and maybe Eastern Asia is more in the morning, but there are places when it's in the middle of the night, and I'm saying, could be worth it for you. Consider joining us. We need you. We need some of you from every part of the world. We're going to change the atmosphere in a way that we're not told about in school, and we're not told about on television, and it's definitely being ignored on purpose. So it's up to us to uncover it. You can do it. It's good for anything in your life that needs to be dealt with. If you're willing, there's no magic words. It's real work on yourself, but it's going to change your life experience. So that's my invitation to you personally. And I still do a few private consulting sessions, counseling sessions, not as an official licensed counselor, but as a consultant in health and in consciousness. And I'll do that if I can, but I don't have time to do much of that at all. So for most of us to really work on this global healing project, we need to do it in the environment set up for that, planetaryhealingclub.com, and I'm hoping you have time to join us if you want to. Don't join. It's not worth your time if you look at it as a spectator sport where Richard puts on a show and they say, oh, that's interesting, and go back to Netflix or whatever. This is if you're really willing to do the work, which is not bad work. It's the kind of work that makes you feel better starting right away. And it shakes up the programs. It cracks apart the fake self you've been carrying around for ages and you don't need it riding on your back anymore. So think about it. And if you have things you want addressed in that club meeting, email me and tell me, okay? Because I can't always guess what everybody wants to really address in the whole realm of health and in the vast realm of consciousness and world events. We can talk about any of that in the club meetings. It's a private, non-censored environment, and you're invited if you want to be part of it. My email address to tell me things you want to address and talk about in the meetings is richard@lostartsradio.com, and I read them all. So trying to keep up here, and with finishing the school project, which is the middle of August, I'm going to have more time for pushing us ahead. I do have to do some writing, which is probably going to take up the time from the school, but everything will get done. It's going to happen. So let me know if this is interesting to you. Think about it. And even if you don't join us, if it's not the appropriate thing for you to do right now, I'm saying make the priority to work on yourself. It's the most generous thing you could do for the whole world. Upgrade your physical health, your emotional state, all of that. Priority one right now, because that makes you of much more use to everybody else. It's contagious in a good way. Okay, anyway, think about it. Let me know what you think. Richard@lostartsradio.com, and I'll see you soon. Have a good night.